Welcome to the Portland Real Estate Podcast, Oregon and Southwest Washington's #1 show for real estate news and information. Without further ado, here are your hosts and a couple of guys who, as busy realtors and successful brokerage owners, know a thing or two about real estate. Steve Nassar of Premier Property Group and Joe Fustolo of Soldera Properties. Welcome, everybody. Excited to be back on the Portland Real Estate Podcast on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. It's always interesting when the weather goes from way too cold to way too hot with nothing in between. Today's that tweener day, and I'm enjoying it. We've got an exciting guest here, Scott Fouser, Joe Fustolo. You and Scott go a ways back, so I will let you do the introductions. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Yep, I've known Scott for a really long time, and he's got a good thing going on with Househappy. And kind of the purpose of this podcast, number 151, is to shed light to our subscribers as to what Househappy is. So if you've never heard of it, we're going to ask all the important questions to put them on the spot. And this is in no way really an endorsement or a sales job for Househappy. We're just going to ask the important questions and get as much info as we possibly can from Scott. I've known Scott for, 20, 30 years, and you may too if you ever watched General Hospital. Sorry for bringing that up. Anyway, welcome, Scott, with Househappy.
Thanks, guys.
Now I got to Google Scott. I did not know the General Hospital connection. Man,
it was
I'm
a very
regular
small part.
watcher of that show. I'm just kidding. I don't watch that show, but
Very small part, long ago.
what? Tell us about it. It came up. I'm Googling you. So what did you do? Who were you?
I was the quarterback of Port Charles High. So I was at that's the school associated in that little town of where the show is set. So it was a small deal. I got hurt. I was on the news. It was just literally a one-day deal. And it never comes up every once in a while. It's pretty funny.
How old were you at the time, Scott?
18, I think.
Oh my gosh. Good for you. Exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what you've done since then. Tell us a little bit about you since you were 18.
Well, gosh, not too long after that, I started in real estate. I started out in the commercial sector down in Los Angeles. I did my first principal transaction right after college, bought a single family lot on overlooking the ocean in Malibu, and made the easiest money I've ever made in my life. I flipped it 4 days later for a $260,000 profit. So this is easy stuff, man. I'll do more of that. So got in the brokerage, did a lot of those, transactions in the real estate market down in Los Angeles. Started a company called Pacific West Properties, was in the brokerage side, doing deals really from downtown West. Moved up here in 93, got back into brokerage, working with a company called McGregor Millett and Associates, selling land, putting small apartment deals together, and then started a company called RealNet in 2000. We were Inc. 500 company twice. We were one of the first tenant common sponsors in the U.S. and did about we operated about 2 million square feet in 10 states, overall transacted about $1 billion in deals. And then I started a company called Gruntworks a few years ago, back in 2011.
I've heard of them.
Househappy. What's that?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Started, and then that got sold to Househappy in about 8 years ago. And then since then, we repositioned, or the Househappy was being repositioned away from a search portal into what it is now, which is basically this tool to help homeowners take care of their house and keep agents, lenders, and contractors all top of mind with their customers for as long as they're in their homes.
So I guess as a segue, we're going to dig deep into this, Scott. As agents, we all know painfully well, and you had some pretty interesting stats to share with us. I think this would be a good time to talk about it, that we sell homes and we don't know when they're going to sell again, right? They say the average person lives in a home, I think probably 6 or 7 years, right? But I've had clients live there for 1 year, and I've had other clients live there for 25, 30 years, right? And I guess I haven't been in the business 30 years. So or 25 years for that matter. So I don't have those clients yet, but I have people that I've helped who lived in their home at least that long, right? So we know that we as agents, we just need to stay in front of them, right? We need to be there whenever that day comes that they're ready to do something. And we want to be top of mind is the word that we always use. So what you guys have done, and there's a variety of ways we as agents do this, right? But what you've done is come up with a very clever and innovative way to do that. So tell us a little bit about it. Tell us the stats that you were telling us the other day. Joe and I had a conference call with you a couple weeks ago, and you were throwing out some stats that I've heard before, mind you, that are kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Having been in a number of businesses over the years, customer retention, customer acquisition cost, and customer retention, lifetime value, all like huge drivers for your business. Mortgage and real estate have like two of the lowest retention rates of any industry out there. And statistically speaking, I believe it's like 88% of people will forget their real estate team less than a year after they close the transaction. It's crazy. And one of the realities is, everybody knows 20 real estate agents and 5 lenders. So it's like, how do you differentiate? How do you stay relevant? How do you stay connected to that customer in a way that makes them, remember you and your brand? And it's not easy. It's not easy. There's too many distractions. Back in the day of when relationships were a lot easier to maintain because you actually had a personal connection and there wasn't, stuff being pushed into your feed every 16 seconds, whether you're looking online or you're on your social or you're on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, you're being promoted to by all these people who aren't me, right? They're not people I have relationships with. And so they're trying to get my attention. So anyway, we came up with this platform really that was built around this concept that, there's a lot of pieces of our Genesis story, which is on the contractor side, it's the same reality. As a plumber, how do you get that customer back? What are you going to do with that customer? How are you going to engage them so that they remember you when they're not thinking about their plumbing? But if you pair that with an electrical contractor, a landscaper, a housekeeper, whatever it is, and you've got all of that in one place, and you're engaging with all those different aspects of it, you're making all of them individually relevant. And so when we layer on the agent or the lender taking care of their customer, helping them manage and maintain their largest investment and giving them all the tools that they need to do that within one pane of glass, right? So you've got your contractor, you've got your electrician, you've got your real estate broker, you've got your lender, you've got your insurance agents, and it's all here. It's all in one little pane of glass that they can manage and maintain their house within. It all makes sense. It all ties together. So we wanted to provide a single solution for basically maintaining and managing their house for as long as they're in it. So and that's where we've ended up.
So the Genesis story, right? I want to talk to like third graders for a second.
Okay.
How was Househappy created? Formerly, bought out Gruntworks, but yeah. How was it created? What was the reason you established that there was a need? What does it do exactly? And why is it something that someone couldn't just do themselves? So lots of questions, but yeah. I think if people know kind of what it is,
yeah,
why it was created, what it does, if we start there, then we can start getting more detailed, I think.
Cool. Yeah. So I think what I'll start with was Gruntworks, because Gruntworks has evolved into Househappy, and then we'll talk about Househappy after that. So Gruntworks was developed really around this idea that, if you've ever ordered a service for your house, it's like, who am I going to get? Are they going to treat me fairly? Are they going to do a good job? Right. So we found that there was a lot of anxiety around solving those individual problems. And it didn't matter if it was your gutter cleaning or an electrician or a plumber or a housekeeper. You're bringing somebody into your house, and there's a lot of anxiety that goes with that. And then if there's ever something that goes wrong, you're on your own to deal with it, right? And you gotta fight over it. And it's just a big pain. So there was a huge problem on that side of the equation from the homeowner's perspective. And then you had the other side of the marketplace, which is the pros. The pros have the same problem. 70% of these pros fail within the first year of their business. It's like any other business, right? It's like they have to manage their business. They have to get customers. And a lot of great service pros are some of the worst people at marketing, at staying in touch with their customers, And I think we find the same thing in the real estate community and the mortgage community. It's like they're great at that little window of time, that time they're engaging in the transaction. They're great at finding the deals. They're great at putting the project together. They're great at the contract. But then when it comes time between the transactions, what do? They're missing it because they're out trying to find the next deal. And so what we wanted to do was connect the dots. And it started in contracting and with homeowner and contractor. And, and if you layer on where I came from, which was, owning and operating all these buildings, everything in a building has a useful life, a roof, an HVAC system, a water heater, they all have an useful life. And those things expire at different times during your ownership cycle. And if they expire at the wrong time, they can be really expensive and you're not going to recover them when you go to sell. So how do we help the homeowner look at their biggest investment like it really is their biggest investment? How do they manage it smartly? How do they get out in front of things? How do they avoid the surprises that makes them have to go find money to replace their roof, or to, instead of locking away $50 a month because they know that in 3 years they've got this bullet coming at them that they're going to have to pay for. So how do we help them have a better overall experience when you take, contractor solution, homeowner solution, we put this into this platform to help people take care of their house and manage a large investment. Step forward into Househappy, which originally started as a search portal and was determined that, we don't need another one, right? There's 100 of them out there. And so the investors in that company went to the guy they wanted to bring in as a new CEO, and they said, what should we do here? And then they did a bunch of work on what people really wanted. And what they found was that there was all this demand for, I'd like to understand my house better. I'd love to have a place where I can keep things. I don't have to keep it in a shoebox and store information and take care of this house and have a simple, better solution on service providers and management and all that stuff for their house. And so when we got connected through some mutual friends, the CEO, Dave Manoogian, reached out to me and said, hey, we should talk. Because I'd been doing exactly what their customers, their focus groups were telling them that they wanted. And so we merged and then went forward and built this thing out at a national scale. So I don't know if that answered your question, Joe, as far as the Genesis story goes, but that's kind of why we ended up here.
So it's like the broker, lender, or realtor would provide it to the recent closing. And those people who just bought a house would have a number, and it's like, hey, we got you Househappy. So if they needed anything, they call the number, and you have vetted people who are good, that show up sober, that aren't too expensive, and kind of like Angie's List, but with trusted people. Is that sort of right?
Sort of, but not really. So the idea behind, well, first of all, when they get it, it originally started as a closing gift. That was kind of our value proposition, was give this to somebody at closing who's just bought their house, add it to, if you give a bottle of champagne or a cutting board or whatever it is that you do, add the Househappy piece, because, a lot of those other things end up in cupboards and, they get stuffed away, or they eat the fruit basket or whatever, and then they're done with it, right? And so this is something that has some legacy value. But as far as like what they get, so they get this service, whether they're just closed or they're a past client or they're somebody you just met for coffee that you want to give them something of value to remember you and to maintain and manage their house and simplify their life. You can give it to them whenever, and it helps you stay engaged with them at every stage of that homeownership cycle. But then what they get is they get an app, they get a phone number, they get chat, they get text messaging, they get whatever they want, email, but they have a personal concierge who's available for them for whatever they need done. So if they need a painter, a plumber, electrician, landscaper, whatever, they've got one point of contact to get that stuff taken care of. Those service pros come to us from a lot of different channels, including if you had a group of 10 people that you love, that do great work, we'll bring them into our system, identify them as your preferred service pros, so that if your clients request an electrician and you've got Steve, the electrician who you love, Steve's going to get the first chance of getting that job taken care of. If Steve doesn't respond or they're too busy,
how does it contact Steve? How does it contact the electrician or any service provider? Is it an email to them? Is it a phone text to them? Both?
So procedurally, what happens is, so if you let's just say you requested an electrician through your app, so you can text, you can chat, you can email, you can phone call, whatever. Once that gets into our system, it goes into There's a few questions that we answer. We build as much detail around the job as we possibly can, so that people can even, like when we include photos or we include data on the home. That's something we'll get into later about all the data we collect for the home, so that the jobs become easy to fulfill and easy to price to the extent that they can be. I mean, you're not going to be able to get a bid on remodeling your kitchen without going and doing a little bit of work, but to clean your gutters, to wash your windows, those kind of stuff, we can pre-price all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then it goes into the system. And like I said, it goes down the waterfall. So, Steve is your preferred electrician. Steve's going to get that first crack at it. If Steve doesn't respond.
How does it notify Steve? Because I've noticed that most contractors don't frequently look at their emails. Can it be set up to give them a text message?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
good.
It'll go. It goes to actually whatever they sign up for, right? Text, email, phone call, whatever. They're going to get those notifications.
Okay. Or could even do a phone call.
Yeah, it depends on what's available, right? Because we might get a phone call if it's urgent.
Okay.
Generally speaking, we try to make it as tech forward as possible, but we have the human touch as well.
You said there's a concierge. Can you expound on that a little bit? What does that mean? That means it's an employee of Househappy who's there as a live person fulfilling this order. Is that what that means?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we find is that, first of all, there's a concierge available. So if somebody wants to talk to somebody, and at different stages of the relationship, at different types of jobs, different types of homeowners will have different preferences on how they want to engage. Joe, you might just want to you don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to get a text message, send a text message, fulfill it, take care of it, and it's done. Other people or in other jobs that have a little more hand-holding, they'll be like, so I've got this I'm thinking about doing, and this is what I'm concerned about. And I've got a couple of different bids, but I don't know which is the right one for me. The concierge will literally walk them through that and look at the pros and cons of the different options that they have and help them understand like really what their objectives are, right? So if they're thinking about doing something and one's like a $10,000 option versus a $3,000 option, and they're depending on where they are in their cycle, what they want to achieve, they'll walk them through that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then you've got a team. So you've got, we've got different people who help fulfill it, but we've got one guy who handles basically Portland. Anybody who's in this market's going to, I think, Joe, you even know him, James. James is our concierge who leads up the Portland market, and he's got a couple of people who help him make sure that everything's running smoothly. But then to continue on our conversation. So once that pro gets the request from Househappy about the job, then they'll respond back with either I need a site visit, or here's my price, or here's my range, or whatever. Then the customer is going to get a notification that says there's a pro or pros interested in their job, and then they'll be drawn back to their dashboard, which we'll talk about later, that will show them the different bids that they have. It'll show here's, Pro A, Pro B, Pro C, has their information, includes what the job description is, what they're including in their bid, and then they can either accept them, reject them, ask questions, talk to the concierge, but then they'll be able to schedule when they're available, what their preferred times are, when they're not available. They can upload photos. They can, just make it a really easy experience for them. And then when they're done, they can pay through the app if they want, or they can pay the pro directly. And then they can also, when it's completed, it'll also store all the information. It'll store the receipts, the before and after photos, all the DNA of the job that was completed, so that it does a few things. One, it kind of creates this like Carfax for your house, if you will. So when you go to sell it, you've got all this living history if you want to transfer that information to the next buyer. And it's just a super, super slick experience.
So if I enroll someone, I can first and foremost say, here's my little black book of people I've been keeping, and I like this guy for HVAC and this guy for roof and this guy. So you'll take first crack at all my preferred people, and if they're not around or don't get answered quickly, you'll go to the people you vetted. And so what type of stuff? Like, let's say the buyer, what about I need a new roof?
Covered.
Okay. I need the exterior painted.
Covered.
Interior painted.
Everything.
Put the thing on the garage floor, the little acrylic stuff.
Got it. Yeah. It doesn't
windows.
matter.
I need new windows. I need windows tinted.
Everything.
All that stuff. Yep. Landscaping, mow and go guy.
He needs a pole inserted in his living room.
We've actually done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great. I would like to use my installer first, but I understand if he doesn't answer quickly that we would go to someone else.
Yeah.
could we have 3 electricians of our own where it goes to the first one? If they don't answer in a timely fashion, it goes to the second one and the third one, and then it goes to your people?
It'll typically, if you give us 3, all 3 of those will get the notification at the same time.
At the same time. Okay. Yep. I like that. Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. So then to get out of the shoebox, once someone does something, then you guys go back online and say, they have a train furnace. It was put in 2019. It takes this size filter. It was serviced on this day. You guys have all that stuff?
Typically, yeah. I mean, it just depends on. So the longer our app is in place, the smarter it gets. So there's a few things that we'll do. So our open rates on our emails that we send out, our service reminders, are over 50%. And we send those out 6 to 8 times a month. So it's like our cadence, our content, our voice, everything has been honed so that we're getting the best open rates we possibly can, because the more they see you, the better, right? We have less than a 1% opt-out rate too. So it's working.
That's an email from Househappy to the homeowner?
Yep.
Does it brand us in the email?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
you're very front.
And how many times a month is it sending them an email?
It's 6 to 8. And I'll tell you what's included in that cadence. So some of them are like, you did this last October, it's time to do it again, right? That's one of them I get. We just negotiated a killer deal for our Househappy customers. And here's what that is. And you're welcome to take advantage of it, and you'll save $300 or whatever it is. It's spring, and we don't necessarily know what's up for your particular home, but it's spring and it's something that you should do. It's time to change the filter in your HVAC unit. Here's the one you need. Press this button, it'll go to your house, or you can press this button and a contractor come out and change it for you and tune up your HVAC unit. And it's $168, whatever that is. So those are the types of communications that go out, along with things like a question that might be asked of them of like how they live in their house and what's concerning of them for right now. And so how can we add those data points to their dashboard, something they're thinking about doing in the future, just kind of where they are in their house. And we get a lot of answers that help us then make that app smarter. So it allows us to engage. For example, let's say it's October. In October, you start thinking about cleaning your chimney. Maybe in September, you start thinking about cleaning your chimney or starting to get those things scheduled. We're going to send out hey, it's time to clean your chimney. But if you don't have a chimney, you don't get that message. It goes into a different flow. And so the reason that our open rates are so high is because everything that we send is relevant and meaningful to that homeowner. I mean, we always see it. Like you see it come out. I get them too. I get so many emails from agents, and it's like, it's spring and here's 42 things that you should be thinking about doing for your house. That doesn't help me. It really doesn't. And so, but if you get those 42 things sent out over a regular cadence and like, can we help you fulfill this one? It's much more useful. It's much more engaging as a consumer. And so that's why we built this way.
So lenders and realtors are branded to every single one of those somewhere.
Yes. And the reason I say hesitation is like, it doesn't automatically have a lender and a realtor, right? It could be, if you put something out and you don't have a co-sponsored lender with you, there's not another. We don't put somebody on there if they're not associated with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So the de facto is, if you're like 88% of all realtors who have crappy follow-up and correspondence, and your drip campaign is like saying bye once they move into the house, at least they're going to be touched by you in some way, shape, or form on those 6 to 8 emails a month, right? So why wouldn't a realtor want to say, hey, look, if you ever need anything regarding a house, why don't you just call me? Ask Joe. You see, realtors do that. They say ask, and then we interviewed on our show once or twice, Sarita Dua made a big campaign of Ask Sarita. If there's anything anyone needs regarding a house, ask her, because then you can ask those open questions like, hey, are you thinking of selling? Are you thinking of moving?
Yep.
Why wouldn't the realtor want to direct everything to them?
You still can do that. I mean, I think that's still a good strategy to have, but what if they don't, right? This is just this one extra thing that you can do to maintain that relationship. And frankly, that was a really big thing. In fact, even when I first started this back in the day, is like, I want my clients to call me. I heard that all the time. And so I don't want to use this because I want them to call me. I'm like, well, okay, well, what if they don't call you? How do they get this thing? And now you got Google, you got Yelp, You got, all these different options, and you're getting stuff pummeled. You're getting pummeled by all the stuff in social and on Facebook, and when you log into your email account, it's all there, right? So it's just absolutely, I think it's something you should do and encourage people to get back to you. But you're also, when you use this platform, not only can your customer make it easier, so you push a button and make it happen.
Why the broker wants everything directed to them? Because there's certain triggers, right?
Oh.
My referral partners, like a roofer and a painter, and all they have to do is say, gee, what's the occasion that you're getting a new roof here? And they're like, well, we need a new roof. They're going to make us change it when we sell. So we thought we would control it and just get a new roof. Or they might say, hey, we need a new roof, but this is my toe tag house. I'm dying here.
Right.
Is there anything that you send people out on that's a trigger that you notify either the lender or the realtor and say, hey, these people wanted a quote for a moving truck or something?
Yeah.
Is there any of that?
Absolutely. And so it's like, not only will they be able to order any service, but when they do, everything that they do is a sales trigger. So it's like, you're going to find out when they're painting their exterior. You're going to know when they want to update their landscape. They might straight up say to the concierge, I'm thinking about selling my house and I'd like to have my exterior spruced up, paint the outside. We're going to immediately ping the agent and let them know that they need to reach out to their customer. But there's also other things, like one of the things that we have in our platform is an updated home valuation. So, everybody knows the Zestimate and all the other stuff that goes out there. Our home valuation module is basically the best in the industry. So, we have a partner and an investor called Black Knight. They're one of the largest data player in the market in the US.
Paragon.
They not only looked at us and said, we believe that you're the best solution in the market, but so they not only roll us out to their customers, but they invested in us. But part of that deal was we got data, and part of that is the home valuation module. So when they're checking their home valuation, you're going to get a notification. Their customers checking their home valuation. They want to have a question about, how that value came about. It's like, well, this is just a computerized guess. The best way to get your actual value is to get an updated CMA from your agent, and then that pings the agent. So there's things like that you'll always get notifications. You'll get notifications on every job that they order, and you can choose to reach out or not. But it gives you some nice indicators when they're in that headspace of maybe doing something.
So what happens if they contact the concierge and say, hey, I'm selling, I need 3 realtors? Then what do you do?
Well, we will direct them back to their actual realtor. We don't provide realtor leads at the moment.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
What's the cost packages like, Scott?
So if you were to go to our site and sign up directly, I'll answer the question a couple different ways. A homeowner would pay, they could either sign up for a free account that just allows them to store data, but not to order a service, not use the concierge, not collect the home data, not, any of the other stuff that we provide of value. But if they want to have all those services, it's $100. So a one-time charge of $100.
What about us realtors?
The realtors, so the realtors have one of three packages they can buy: $100, $200, or $400 a month. And those differences are made up on how many customers they have access to that they can load into the system. But I've created a special deal for you guys because of the reach. And in fact, you're kind of in my backyard, and I want to have more love in our local neighborhood. That's going to save your agents 70% and save any loan officers 35%.
So explain the packages. So if I was by 100,
so $100, so it'd be $30.
Yeah, $30 a month covers 200 of your customers with active accounts.
Full blown active accounts.
Yep.
For $30 a month.
Yep.
How long would that last? That special. That seems good.
Well, if you sign up now, you got it forever.
Okay. Wow. So the $100 package, which you're discounting 70% to 30, lets us have 200 active clients that are using this site, each of them. What's the other packages? Like the 400 must be like 1,000 or unlimited or something. 1,500. Okay. Yeah. Which is a lot. Okay.
And then 200 is 500 accounts.
How would we demo this? Is there, like, if I wanted to just go take my house and set up my own account so I could play with it, so I could try it, I have to assume you have a way to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just set it up for you. I mean, you just shoot me or our customer service team. Well, shoot it to me because otherwise they won't know what to do with it if it's a trial account. You just shoot me your name, address, email, phone number, and we'll set up the account.
Does it have a picture of your actual residence?
Yeah,
that we upload.
It'll preload with a Zillow Street photo.
Got it.
And then you can change it.
You can change it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it a 200? Let's say this $30 for 200. Is it like once you use it, it's used, or can you cancel people? And is it like a 200 number, or once you use it on a house, that's spent? And how does that work?
If somebody's active in the so let's just say there's a couple of different ways that you can create accounts for customers. One is, look, I'm setting this up for you, Joe. You're going to love this. It's going to make your life a lot easier. I'm going to send Househappy your information. You're getting an email from Househappy. That's one way, and then it's just active and live. The other way to do it is we'll create a URL for everybody who signs up, and then they can put it on their social. They can send it out in an email. They can put it on their business cards or their signs or at an open house, and they can just give them out like popcorn. And then those people who then actively accept that account and fill out the information, that would be one of those 200.
Okay.
But I guess to Joe's question, I want to dig deeper in that because it was a good question. Let's say you set up an account for someone. Let's say they move, sell, and they move out of the area. They're no longer our client. They take down their account and close it out. Do we get to use that one on a new person? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So it's not, okay. It's almost like armless watches, right? Like you're allowed a certain number, and when you stop using one for this house, you can use it on a different house. Okay.
But what's crazy is there's a local, in fact, she's been on your store or on your show, Tammy Whittrend. She's been a client of ours for years.
Yeah, we know Tammy.
I think she has about 1,300 customers in our ecosystem. Wow. 87% of her customers 5 years later are still using the Househappy platform. Talk about sticky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of people that have been on our podcast, Dill Ward commented here. She said she brought up, what if the client has a terrible experience with a vendor and associates it with you? Talk about that.
It's a great question. So we literally, that's one of the first things that people have said in their concerns about. There's two things that people say. One is, I'm afraid you're going to talk to my customers too much. That's 6 to 8 because I don't want my people touched that much. It's like, well, but the math supports and the stats support that it's working really, really well. The other is, I'm afraid somebody's going to have a bad experience with the contract and they're going to blame me for it. I can tell you without exception that in the 11 years that we've been doing this, not once has that happened. And the reason that happens, or the reason that it hasn't been a problem, is because in every case, they're not used to having somebody on their side to remedy whatever happened. And it's contractors, it's home services. It's going to happen at some point. Even the best pros. Early on, we had like the top roofer who did like 6 Street of Dream houses mess up on a job. It got taken care of in spades. The customer was more than happy. After that happened, I think they did like 6 major jobs with our concierge team again. And so it's just like, we're there as a representative of the homeowner to resolve anything that comes up. And in the entire time we've been doing this, we've had 2 instances where we had to go after the contractor's insurance to get resolution. That's it. However, in 8 years, 9 years, 12 years, we've been doing this. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And, it's also nice that I hate referring people to some people who are never pleased with anything. And I just know I could send the best of any something and they'll find something to bitch about. And then all fingers point back at me. So I kind of like that buffer. And the other thing, you said something the other day, I don't know that I fully understand it. So if someone called an Angie's List, those contractors have to pay Angie's List of this VIG that Angie's List charges. So then they have to up their price to pass it to the consumer. And then they kind of drop those leads down on the calendar and they take care of their full bill jobs first. And then 2-3 weeks later, if it's still there and they have nothing better to do, they'll go service it. But you guys don't have a percentage or any of that. So the people are motivated to take your jobs first, get there, do a great job. So they're in your good graces and do the best job, because those contractors get their full amount and there's no transfer of raising prices. Is that sort of correct?
You're mostly correct. So what we learned really early, so I mean, I will be transparent. When we first started with Gruntworks, we believed that the business opportunity here was to take a percentage of the job. It's a $400 billion industry, and you get a small piece of that, and you take 10% of the job, and you make good money. What we learned especially when things got tight on supply, meaning plumbers were hard to come by, electricians were hard to come by. We learned that one of three things happens when you sell leads or you dig into the pocket of the contractor too deeply. Is you either get second or third tier pros because the first tier pros are busy. You get pushed to the bottom of the priority list, or the price gets jacked to compensate them for the price they had to pay for the lead or for the percentage that they're being taken out of their pocket. So what we evolved to on our model was the contractor can really choose one of a few different packages for us. One is they pay a whopping $20 when they close the job. When they complete the job, it's just a booking fee. And they're more than happy to do that because they're used to paying $30, $40, $50, $100 for just a lead. This is just a transactional fee that helps them, make sure that, we can keep them, make sure we can keep their compliance up to date and process the jobs and take good care of them as well. It was a big problem early on when we learned that somebody would say, hey, call me directly next time and you'll save $500 or whatever. It's like, oh, that's like the worst case scenario. You can't have that happen. And so we completely got rid of all of that. So if you look at like the home advisors, the Angie's List is they don't pay for leads, but they pay for relevancy, right? So if you look on Angie's List, anything that comes up on the first page is paid. And so they have to compensate for other marketing costs. And so their prices tend to be a little bit higher. For Home Advisor, not only is it a terrible user experience because you put your information in there and they sell your lead to the 5 people who are willing to pay the most for it. And now your phone starts blowing up and you got a bunch of people you don't know. Sometimes they don't even know what job it is that they're calling on. They just know they got a lead and they might not even be a great fit for it. So from a user experience, it's terrible. But then if you figure that they've paid, let's just say $50 for a lead, but their conversion rate is roughly 25%, that means they got to pass on that full cost inside their customer acquisition cost to fulfill the job. And so it's just, we didn't want to have that because our customers, our homeowners are our customers, but you guys are our customers. Our duty to you is to help make sure your customer has an amazing experience. That's really where we focus. So everything is about what the customer journey is, what the customer experience is, what the messaging is to them, and to help you guys look good throughout the entire ownership journey that they have their home.
I mean, where does the lion's share of your monetization come from? From the subscription cost to us, or it's a little bit of both, or?
We have a really cool model that it's built on a bunch of micropayments so that we don't have to kind of get a bunch from any one group. So we make our revenue off of our subscriptions. So we have license fees from companies like Fidelity, like Black Knight, like Penn Fed Credit Union, and then the individual sponsors, the lenders and real estate agents. But then we'll make $20 on a job. We'll have, with 500,000 accounts created, you can imagine that there's some pretty large groups out there that would like to sell to our customers, and they've approached us to buy our lists. And of course, we're never going to sell them any customer information. So what we do is we say, we're not even going to charge you for an ad, but what we will do is we'll promote whatever you can deliver to our customers that has meaningful value so that they can get something of value through us that they can't get somewhere else. And so, like, for example, I've got an ADT deal that is up to $1,400 worth of free equipment that your customers get. And they'll pay us when a customer buys a system. And then they'll even pay like in some instances, depending on the relationship we have, they'll even pay another, like a spiff to the people who originated it. So like the agent or the lender or whoever. So there's that, but because they don't have any risk, right? They don't have to have a big marketing spend and hope that they recover it on enough sales. So they're able to pass on a better discount to our customers, your customers, for the way our deal works. Again, our whole thing is built around what's good for every player in the space, including the homeowner.
Is there national advertising on the site? Like if I log into my account to see my house and my value and just check on it, is there Home Depot paying you to be there?
Not yet.
Nope. Yeah, that seems like that could be something too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's like, we've had the conversation with Home Depot, but they're like, everything that we do starts with a B. Right? Everything they have starts with a B. So unless we've got, several million users, they're not really even interested. But we do have some conversations with some national painting companies, like the big manufacturers that we're hoping to get one of them on board here shortly, because we also want to add their paint feature that you can mess around inside your, you can look at what paint color would look great on your wall, right? That's a feature that we want to add to our platform.
Are there markets you're not in? You just don't have the relationships, the contractors and all that?
No, we got about 104,000 contractors across the U.S. in our ecosystem. But I mean, as you can imagine, the middle of Tucumcari, New Mexico, we may not have a full suite of pros. If we get a job request over there, we actually have what we call our job in hand team to fulfill those, so that the homeowner doesn't have to make all those calls.
And that means one of your concierge gets on the phone and finds somebody. Got it. So there's never a time in any market. And I know that doesn't apply to us and our listeners. I'm just curious a little bit about your business model.
So do you guys have sort of like a review system? Like after a contractor goes out, does a job for them, will that homeowner say, hey, 4.5 stars out of 5, it was great, but he left fingerprints on the pole he installed?
Yeah. So in every instance, we follow up with the customer post-transaction, and we say, that we ask them 2 questions, really. How did we do as your concierge? And then how did the pro do? And we ask for feedback and whether or not there's anything for us to address. We do not post that in we don't have a rating and review section in our site, because our belief is if you're not getting, high marks, you're not in our system. If they're in, they're good. If they're not, we pull them out.
Okay. So no public stars of this is how we rank these people. It's just if you employ them, or if they're on your list, they're great, and there's no public anything. Yeah,
because we have a satisfaction guarantee. So we need to make sure that everybody we use lives up to a certain standard, so that, we know that if something happens, they've got insurance, that they're highly regarded, they got proper licensing, and licensing all over the country is different, right? Somebody might need, unless they're doing a job over $600, they might not need, a license for something. So we need to make sure that they have all the right stuff, and that, we're constantly monitoring how they're doing. Otherwise we put ourselves at risk.
Scott, if it's my electrician or contractor and there's an issue, you guys pull them. That's my first question. Do you pull our people as well?
Well, I will tell you that there's we had a group in South Carolina that added several pros to our system. And then when we still have to check them, right? Because you can use them, but if we're going to put a satisfaction guarantee behind them, we need to make sure that they're properly licensed and insured and they've got good reviews.
Sure.
I think of the 10 pros that they sent us, 3 or 4 of them had almost all 1-star reviews. And so we're like, you can use them, but we're not going to dispatch them. We'll let you know if that kind of thing happens. But, it's not like one strike and you're out either. It's, how somebody handles something makes a big difference.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, you've talked about Fidelity a couple times. What's your partnership with Fidelity? They're they're a Fortune 500 company, maybe even a Fortune 250 company, I think. But
yeah, so Fidelity they had early interest in our company, and then recently they went pretty big with us, and they took a decent size equity position in the company so that they could add value going forward in their business to their business partners.
Which would be Tycor title, lawyer's title. Are you saying they have access to Househappy? I haven't, because I work with lawyer's title. I'd never heard of Househappy through them anyway. Is that coming, or
it's coming?
Okay.
Yep.
Is that a recent?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And then all these contractors have to sign a contract with you, right? Househappy has some sort of hold their feet to the fire. There's a bar that they need to achieve. Okay.
Yeah. And I do want to mention the contractors again a little bit, because I think, while customer retention is fantastic and it's something that we do really well, the platform, especially in today's market, is really about how you can activate your customer base, how you can expand your brand, how you can reach new customers. And one of those ways is through your service pros. So when we create a URL for you, you can give that to your electrician for them to share with their customers, because or they can also sign up with us directly. And if they sign up with us directly for our Premier Pro, which is they pay us $99 a month, but then we become their marketing company basically to help them engage all of their customers. If you put them in our system, your branding is on all of their accounts. So if you got 10 pros with 1,000 customers each, now you got 10,000 people seeing your brand and you're not paying for any of those. But if you give them your URL to share and they give it out to all their customers, then you're going to be on their customers' accounts as well. But those are count towards your 200 or 500 or 1,500 or whatever it is.
Okay. Hey, Scott, so let's talk like how somebody would move forward with this. Okay. Where would one of our listeners go to sign up for this? Househappy.com. Is that the site?
Yep. I mean, I can post, I don't know if I can post it or not. I can give you a link that would take you directly to the agent and lender page. I can get you to that. And then,
but is househappy.com the name of the site?
Yep.
Okay. And there's a link that goes lenders, realtors page.
Yep.
Where we would sign up. Okay. So then we would pick our package, and it sounds like you've got a 70% discount for people that come to you through our podcast. That's awesome. Yep. Thank you. They would pick their package. Let's say they want to do the $30 for 200. Okay. I'm assuming that agent would need to go in there, upload their photo, upload their logo, put in their contact info, maybe put in some of their service providers, correct?
Yep.
I'm assuming there's a vetting process on your end where you go, okay, these people are in here. We looked at them. They're all good. They're all licensed, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we would basically, when somebody signs up, we send out an onboarding toolbox that gives them, templates and instructions on how to submit customers and all the tools that they need, some videos they can share with their customers, a whole bunch of stuff for them to use in their business. And then part of that is, here's what we do. And they can either send us the information or we can pull it off of their webpage, because we're also going to, add in where they want their customers to be linked to. If they've got a funnel they want them push them back to, or a website or a property search portal, those things all we capture so that when they click on your photo, it goes to the right place.
Okay. And then it's implementation time. And we would, as the transaction closes, or maybe it's closed a year or two ago, and we just want to provide them with this tool now. You said we can set up the account for them ourselves, or we can just send them a link and say, here's your page. What do you find the most success with?
Well, clearly, if they don't have to do anything, there's less friction in getting that account live, right? Yeah. So you send us the name, address, email, phone number, it's done and live, and they will have it unless they opt.
Oh, you can do it. You guys will actually do it if we provide you the info.
Yeah. And so, but what you want to do, because we had some problems with this from some lenders down in Southern California that basically sent us a list of 5,000 people they'd never met. And they're like, how'd you get my info? And all that. And so you don't want that. You want to let them know that it's coming. You're getting them a gift that's going to simplify their life. It's a concierge service that you've covered all the costs for as long as they're in their home. And just keep an eye out for the Househappy email that comes gifting you this service. That's really all you need to do. And then when you send us the information or you upload it to tracksignup.com, then it's done. The other alternative is that QR code or the URL that people can opt into with your link.
Mm-hmm. And the consumer can unsubscribe.
Yeah, it's part of the requirements, right? We always have to give them the ability to unsubscribe.
And then whoever's their account, would I know that they unsubscribed?
You will give you periodic reporting on who's in the system and who's actively doing what on top of your immediate triggers that, let you know what the customers are up to.
Okay. Just curious. I wake up and I'm blocking texts and blocking emails every day. Yep. It takes about a half hour of my day every day just to stay on top of it. And I'm wondering if someone wanted to block it, could they? And then, are we alerted that they unsubbed from it so we could kill the account and assign it to somebody else potentially?
Yeah. I mean, we'll let you know how many, again, and to be for whatever it's worth, we're not crazy sticklers on oh, you're at 201 accounts, so now you got to pay the extra $30 a month. We're not like that.
Yeah.
So,
are there backend analytics for the entire 200 accounts or whatever package you have, showing how many are actively using it, how many what your open rate is, and that type of stuff?
Yeah, we'll send you a monthly report that shows you what your customers are doing.
Okay, so it would show you have 200 used active accounts. this month 100 people clicked into it, etc.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few data points that's in there, but yeah, generally speaking, you're going to see what your customers are up to.
Okay.
But it's macro, right? Like this many people interacted and clicked. It doesn't say, hey, Dave and Susie just had their HVAC serviced.
You'll get those as they happen.
Oh, okay. And could I like go to Dave and Susie's account and click on them? And
no, you can't see what's going on in there. It's all privacy stuff, right? Because they might have, because one of the things that the platform and the dashboard allows people to do is store things like insurance photos and closing documents and receipts and warranties and all that stuff. So they have it all in one place. And so you don't want to have somebody else being able to bounce around in there and take a look at their stuff.
They don't want you to see that they put a pole in their living room, Joe. Come on.
I guess not. What about old inspection reports?
Totally. Yeah.
Really?
In fact, if you send in an inspection report, so one of the other things that we're seeing really good feedback from is people are using this as a listing differentiation tool. So when you go to somebody to talk about getting a listing, these are one of the things that we do. We're going to come in, we're going to do a walkthrough inventory about your home. We're going to capture information. We're going to get all the model numbers of the appliances, the filter sizes, the paint colors. We're going to store this in your dashboard, and we're going to sell this house with a prepaid concierge service included. Part of that is the agent now gets another set of hands to help them prep the house for sale, manage any inspection related repairs, help that customer move from point A to point B. So we got a moving concierge team too. So if you need to ship stuff, move stuff, transfer utilities, set up cable, internet security, clean carpets, change locks, all that stuff is all handled through our system. So it's just a way to help differentiate that. And then when the buyer buys the home, you can transfer this to a new buyer.
Hey, we have a question from one of our listeners, Wade Willers, and I'm not sure if I understand this question, but maybe you will, Scott. With a pro account, is it 200 clients per year, or is that the cap for the pro account?
It's 200 live accounts. So if people are actively using their accounts, and then if let's just say that moves into, again, I mean, if you go to 201, I'm not going to like trigger something and you're going to get you charged that extra amount of money. It would be 200 actively live accounts, and then if you get up into the 300 or whatever, then we'll probably reach out and go, hey, you should probably bump up to that next plan if you're if you want to keep growing your user base.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think maybe I do understand his question. So it's not that you can hand out 200 per year. You can have 200 active at any time. So you could hand out 200, 100 don't use it. You shut those down and you can hand out another 100.
Yeah, you don't even need to shut them down. If they don't activate them, they don't activate them.
Okay.
Are there realtors or lenders who are big clients of yours that you can tell us that maybe we can talk to and say, hey, how do you think about Househappy?
Yeah, I mean, again, I go to Tammy Wittrin here locally. She's been with us probably the longest of anybody in Portland, and probably give you the best insight as to what she's seen in our platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we like Tammy.
Right.
We had her on the show. She did a great job, and she's smart too, and not scared to spend a little money, because that's how you make money, right?
Yeah.
And there's been lots of conversation about cost, because everybody's kind of hypersensitive to it.
Sure.
Traditionally, realtors have been pretty tight with their money, and it was the lenders who, if you say, hey, I need $1,500, they'll throw $1,500 at you across the room. I think those days are kind of over for the lenders, and everybody's a little bit conscious of, what's the value for my money, and will this come back to me in the way of retention or leads or closing that new listing? So it sounds like great stuff.
The pricing seems very, very reasonable, especially with that big discount.
Yeah.
So how would our listeners get that discount? They would go to the site. Is there a notes field where they say, I saw this on the Portland Real Estate Podcast?
Yeah. So I'm actually putting it into the chat right now. There's two different codes, one for agents and one for lenders. And there's a reason that lenders don't get as big of a discount, because there's some other things that they can do with this platform that's helpful to the agents. But I'm putting both of those in there. And that shows up when you go to that lender sign up page. In fact, I'll post that as well. Well, it sounds like some people have found it already anyway, but
I'm going to put it here in the comments on our
it lit up in the chat on our chat, but let's put it in masters. And when we bundle this thing and get it out on all the platforms, let's put that little blurb that, hey, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on wherever you listen to a podcast, and put those codes in there so people can reference it, as well as, all of Scott's info.
Yeah. And then I just sent the link to the sign up page as well, so they can short circuit having to bounce through the website.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, what are we not asking, Scott? This is all great stuff, but is there anything else?
If anybody's known about us for any length of time, they've really viewed us. And in fact, even Joe did when I saw what he put out about experiential gifting. Yes, that's a very, very important piece of what we do on the retention side. But the activation, being able to get it out to your customers' database, your database, your circle. We've got people in Arizona and Nevada who are literally going into neighborhoods and they're handing out flyers and saying, this is something we do for the people in the neighborhood. We'd like you to use it. It's all the costs have been covered by us. It's a way for you to maintain and manage your house and simplify the homeownership experience for as long as you're in it. We just hope that you'll think of us when it comes time to sell your house. It's just, there's so many ways you can leverage this platform to help, lenders use it as a way to reduce shopping, right? So you just meet somebody and, the lending world is so commoditized that, it's like, how do you keep somebody from bouncing to the next option, or to Rocket or to Loan Depot or something that they promise this cheaper thing, but they lose out on the experience of the loan officer that, can help them get it over the goal line. And so they're using this as a way to connect with that customer, that prospect, even before they're a customer, to help them simplify that part of the journey up until when they actually decide to do something. We've actually just started working with a company called Open House Masters, and they've got a product called Open Houses Direct, where it's a way for them to capture people who come to the open houses in a really efficient way. And then when they follow up with them, they're basically sending them a text message that's including that URL and saying, this is something we'd like you to do for your, we'd like to provide to you for you while you're deciding on what you want to do. And if you're interested in this house, great. If you're just kicking tires, you're a neighbor or whatever, you can use this while you're still in your house. So it's a way to extend that relationship and add something of value right after you've met them. And so there's more and more things evolving because we keep getting people coming to us and saying, this is what's going on in the market. We need a way to connect with people in a real meaningful way, how to keep connected with them until they do something, and how to shake the trees and generate some new business. And if it's about, offering these to your circle or offering them to your service pros that they can get out to their customers, whatever, it's a really cool, different way to engage a customer, because once it's in place, you don't need to do anything. We do it all for you. And then we let you know when your customers or your potential customers are going to do something that is doing something that might indicate them needing your services. Pretty slick.
Mm-hmm. How great for farming, like a geographical farm, a subdivision or a neighborhood. Not everybody's going to use it, right? But you put your newsletter out or whatever you do with the link. Let's say 50% of the people type it in. They're typing in their information, phone number, email, and then they get to see you every single time an email comes to them. That's pretty amazing, actually. And then the de facto answer is, if that broker does absolutely nothing, they're still touching these people 6 to 8 times. That's actually brilliant. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Scott, is there a way to physically mail something to a past client that lets them log in and use it?
Yeah, I mean, you could use one of our templates and throw your QR code on it, and they can scan it. And
each one who receives that will have their own unique opportunity to start an account.
Yeah. So what'll happen is in the URL that we create for you actually is your own landing page, if you will, that talks about the gift and what you're providing them and the services. And then so each QR code that is for you is it's going to take them to that same page. But when they fill out their name and their email, then it'll create the account with all your attached information to it.
Gotcha. Do you guys find that most people log into this on a phone or on a computer? Do you guys know? Have you done any?
I know that our team knows. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but you are fully set up that this works well on phone. Is there an app or is it?
the most expansive use is it's a mobile optimized web app. And so that's how the most things happen in it. But we have a native app for both Android and iPhone.
Okay.
I'm downloading it right now.
Well, this is fantastic, Scott. I think we can probably wrap up unless you have any more questions, Joe. But no, this is exciting. We've shared with everybody how to get their 70% discount. We've got our codes on here.
Yeah, I think it's super informative. I think everybody maybe kind of heard about it, but never really knew anything about it. I think we're uncovering something that most people, if you said, hey, what does Househappy do? You'd probably get 100 different answers. And so
it's so complex. And, a lot of people have, and that's one of my big frustrations. Oh, you're like Angie's List or Home Advisor. Like, no, we're not even close to that. But it's like, and it happens all the time. It's just like, you stand up in front of a group of people and you ask them a question, or you say, what do you think we are? And everybody's got a preconceived idea of what it is. And we all experience that in different ways in our lives and in our businesses. It's like, oh, you are this, because it's what they know. It's what they know and what they can attach it to. But we've created a very unique, all-encompassing solution that really addresses the needs of the homeowner, the connectivity to the agent or the lender at literally every stage of the ownership cycle, whether they're kicking the tires or they're thinking about moving, or they're prepping their house for sale, or they just bought it, or they've been in it for 5 years. There's value added, for all of those players at all stages of that cycle. So it's pretty exciting because, like, as I mentioned early on about having multiple apps, multiple solutions for the different things that you need. But you go here for an electrician, you go here for a plumber, and you go here for your landscaper, and you go here for your lender, and you go here for your agent. That's a terrible experience. But when you put it all together and it allows us to engage that homeowner in a real simplistic way, it's solving a big problem. And it's kind of an elegant solution to the complexities of homeownership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, we've got some good endorsements for you. Juhu, I'm probably gonna say this wrong. So Juha.
Juha.
Do you want to say the last name? Was that you, Joe? Juha.
I would pronounce it. I'd mess it up.
Juha Miniman. I've used Househappy for years. Great service. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Juha.
And then Kirk Faulkner. Great stuff, guys. This was new info for me. So good.
There was another compliment. Someone else complimented Househappy. And it was on that post that I deleted when we were having trouble going live, but it said, Househappy is amazing, been using them forever. And so there are some people that know about you. And I think there's a lot more that know about you now. And
yeah,
what a great solution. Just give a number. So I subscribed my first 2 people yesterday just to do it. So I'm new too.
The biggest thing, and for us, and we talk about, brand differentiation, and so many of us are focused on the transaction, and it's just by default because we only have so much time, and that's how we get paid. And I think, you can decide if you're going to have a transactional based relationship with your customer or a truly relationship based relationship with your customer. And the way that happens is not by engaging them at little periods of time when it's when you might make money off of them, right? It's how do you really show that you care, and it's by simplifying their life. It's by being there at all stages. Again, I'm obviously I drink a lot of our own Kool-Aid here, but I think it's a very, very good solution for that in particular. And when you look at your cost, you couldn't create the content for $30 a month. You couldn't put out an email for $30 a month. And being able to do this and not have to lift a finger and only engage when it's a good time, because basically what we're telling you is a good time. You could pay for this service for 20 years and do one deal over 20 years and you'd still have positive ROI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, this was a great show. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us. Joe, you got any final words?
I think we did it. Said it all. The sun's out. Let's go golfing.
I'm in.
Me too. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, Scott. We appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Portland Real Estate Podcast, Oregon and Washington's #1 show for cutting-edge real estate discussions. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to the members of Masters in Real Estate, a private and exclusive Facebook group, and the #1 source for all real estate topics. Thanks for being there, gang. I love you. Finally, I want to thank our faithful listeners. Without an audience, we're just two guys talking to each other. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so the new episodes automatically come to you. Make it great.